So, hey guys. Today I'm going to be going over my team for the Amino Draft Tour. So for the second season or second tour. Um, so for those of you who don't know, last year, um, I do have a playlist of last year's Amino Draft Tour where we just pretty much went, um, well, spoilers, I guess you want to call it. We kind of went undefeated and just won the whole thing. So yeah. Um, I'll admit, we did win that one through a bit of luck, a little bit of um, yeah, a bit of. There's some battles that were came down to that, but we did win the whole thing, despite like facing some very strong opponents. But honestly, this time around, I just wanted to do it this once more and see like where I go before I get into. So I believe the style of the draft tour has changed to where it's like a just like I think instead of like 62 people, it takes now. I think it's like a little bit lower now. It's like I believe like 25. So that's a big. I think that's the amount of people that were that were interested in or just partaked in it. So this time around, and basically, it's I think it's like a double elimination. So there's a winners bracket and a losers bracket. So if you lose, you go to the losers bracket, and if you lose again, you're out of the tournament. So basically, you can only lose maybe once. So yeah. So anyways, I'll just go into the team I brought. So for this season, it's pretty much the same. You have like 46 points. You draft a certain amount of Pokemon in a certain like columns that they give you. So anyone can just have the same amount of Pokemon or the same Pokemon overlapping. So yeah. And for this season, I actually almost like I believe they banned Mega Latias, and yeah, I almost came close to picking Mega Latios, but you'll see. Oh, there's some changes I made to the original team that I did. So um as you'll notice. But anyways, let's just get off to the team build. So the first Pokemon that I kept was Magearna, and honestly, I mean it's no surprise why. Probably one of the best Steel slash Fairy types in draft if it's allowed, and especially with like the coverage options it has, with you know Flare Cannon, Dazzling Gleam, Flash Cannon, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Energy Ball. I mean, this thing has some of the best coverage in the game. If it only had Flamethrower, guys, if it only had Flamethrower, or even Surf, it would be better, but it probably would have been banned. So, it has access to like Shift Gear, Thunder Wave, Trick Room. It has a lot of speed control options. It even has access to like I believe some recovery with Heal Bell and Pain Split. So unfortunately, we can't use Z moves this time around, but I believe it's fine because I believe Magearna in of itself is a tank and can just steamroll teams if it sets up with combines or whatever. And of course, Soul Hodge just a really really great ability because even if people try to sack stuff to Magearna, you still have to be careful that this thing's setting up on setup because you just give it a +1 boost and it might go for Trick Room or might go for a Calm Mind. So yeah, of course I have to watch out for any ground or fire type Pokemon as well as any other status options people throw at this thing. But I do think that this Magearna is playing a more of a lighter role in this season or this draft tour at least compared to the other Pokemon I have. But I do want to have my other team members like be able to play a more significant role than Magearna itself. So I don't want to rely on this thing all the time, and I think I might even explore more defensive sets if you ask me. So yeah. So the next Pokemon I have is I think a familiar face, and that's Mega Gallade. So um, actually I had Mega Gallade in my PFA draft, and I know like I'm gonna explain it the second time, but come on, like this thing was just too good not to pass up. And I think this was the reason why I got Mega Gallade was actually because believe I had originally Mega Latios and a different a dark and dragon type Pokemon, which we'll explain. But right now, so originally I had Mega Latios with Mega and Muck, but then I realized, I could get Mega Gallade and Hydreigon, and I just felt that was a better core offensively, especially to pair with Magearna. So Mega Gallade this time around, I just felt was just better because it just gives me speed, it gives me a strong physical attacker, gives me a fighting type, and the coverage this thing has insane. As I mentioned, as access to elemental punches, earthquake setup with bulk up, SD, even in like all forms of like weird coverage options like Encore, Disable, Will-O-Wisp, Destiny Bond, Memento, which is actually pretty cool if you ask me. So I believe even main look. So I guess it's a great breaker slash cleaner. It could serve as either options. Uh, of course, the coverage on this guy is amazing. So overall, I just wanted to have something that just hits very hard, just pretty much a strong physical offensive mon. And I guess it's something that I just felt that was a bit better than like Mega Latios. So of course I do have to be very worried about certain H slash matchups because that thing's allowed, but that goes to my next Pokemon, and that's Hydreigon. So now Hydreigon, I believe, was one of the very very few Pokemon I have not had the luxury of drafting. But when I do have it, it's often played very well in my hands. And this is one of those. This is one of the very few Pokemon I feel like it just works every time I just bring it along, and I just felt it was natural having Hydreigon because honestly, with Dark Dragon, with Levitate, you already deal with two of the major weaknesses with Fire and Dark. With and you're also dealing with the Ghost types as well, so it just helps with the whole Magearna Gallade core that I'm building. So of course, its special attack is amazing. Dark Pulse, Draco Meteor. I believe even Dragon Pulse works. It has access to Defog, U-Turn, and Roost. So you have, and even Taunt. So you have some really good utility options to use with Hydreigon. And a special attack and even physical coverage is amazing. So like Earthquake, even Head Smash, Focus Blast, Fire Blast. All sorts of attacks. It even has Iron Tail, which if you want to hit fairy types, it's really great. So regarding the resistances part, I think the reason why I felt Hydreigon was a better Dark type was just because stats. Compared to something like an Alolan Muck, yes, Alolan Muck is has in theory only one weakness to ground, but the irony is that Alolan Muck is just it's kind of weak to Dark itself because sometimes if you're Alolan Muck, you don't want to get knocked off your Berry, especially for your Berry, um your Assault Vest, and it just makes you weaker. Whereas for Dragon, you don't want to of course, it has a lot of weaknesses, to Ice, Berry, and Fighting, but this thing is something you don't want to switch into. So unless you have one of those options, Fairy type, but still, Hydreigon is just an incredible Pokemon to pair, and it has access to U-Turn, and I could just work with Vel just to get in something like a Zapdos or Gallade or whatever. So yeah, that's all I have to say about Hydreigon. It's just a great Dragon type and Dark type Pokemon in general, so to have on the squad. So next up we have Zapdos, and I believe this is the 100th time I've explained Zapdos. So all I have to say is just discharge static. There, done. You know what? Let's move on. Let's okay. Let's be honest. Zapdos is just honestly, I think Zapdos is a top 10 draft mod. I actually have to think Zapdos is literally one of the best draft Pokemon you can have in the league. It's just that good. I kid you not. Just draft Zapdos, run Discharge, Roost, Defog. Possibly this thing's also the best defogger in the game. I'm not even kidding about that. I think that's just, and you could just run this thing offensive or defensive. And most of it, that's I've always run. So yeah, a great, process shuffler with Thunder Wave, Discharge, and Static. You're gonna come on. This thing just no wonder this thing is good. It's all spiky. I mean, if you touch one of its wings, you're probably gonna get paralyzed to it. So yeah, no wonder like Zapdos is as good as it is. So or terrible because sometimes you just like throw it in there and then you get two-shotted. So yeah. Does have access to U-turn and Volt Switch, so it pairs well with the Volt Turn I'm trying to go with here. So yeah. Overall, Zapdos is just something that I wanted. Great wall, great pivot. Honestly, best pivot in the game. So yeah. The next Pokemon we have is Entei. And Entei is just one of those Pokemon that I've really grown to respect. Now, early on in Gen 6 draft, I really liked Entei, especially like GGC and the singles as well, because with access to Sacred Fire, you could burn stuff. Of course, Sacred Fire got nerfed to hell in Gen 7 with burn itself getting nerfed. It's only doing 1/16 instead of like 1/8 damage. But still, Sacred Fire is still great. Being able to like burn like physical targets, and it makes Entei great, like pseudo defensive wall. Of course, I have to talk about like Flare Blades and Extreme Speed. Like these two are just fantastic coverage options for Entei, and it has also I think Stomping Tantrum now from like Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and also Howl from its older GameStop event. So yeah, it's a very great powerful like fire type, and its base stats just are great. I think the reason why I got this guy was because I wanted to have a good check to opposing Magearnas and H slashes, and have a good Pokemon that with great bulk in general. So because I think this for 4 points, this was a steal if you ask me. This aside with Zapdos, so yeah. So I think I mean, Entei won it all like last season, so we'll see if we can do it again. So now let's get to our third new Pokemon, which is Seismitoad. So now Seismitoad is a Pokemon I have not used at all. I did draft it in one league, but I think I had to leave unfortunately. But this time I decided to get it because, of course, I wanted a water type that actually didn't like that wasn't how do I say it? I guess you could say useless, because like with Oleon, it was great, but you needed M Chestnut for it to work very well, and like also Mega Latias. But with Seismitoad, like one thing that it has is going is that it's immune to like water moves, and of course it has a 4 times weakness to grass, but its coverage options are pretty great with access to like Scald, Knockoff, Poison Jab, Sludge Wave, Toxic. So you're pretty much that's a pretty much very spammable set if you ask me. Like, of course people will play around it, but you could also just run Earthquake or Hydro Pump or Power. So there's one thing I will note is that for this season, Damp Rock, we can't use Damp Rock at all on Seismitoad or any other mods because Rain got nerfed or banned for this draft. We can't run Damp Rock. We just have to run it regular. So that's something I want to keep in mind. So overall, I just wanted to have a more reliable Pokemon that's just that can Scald, burn stuff, knock off, and just pretty much toxic stuff in general. So Seismitoad was just something I just felt I wanted to try it out. So yeah. Now the last new Pokemon on the team was that I added was Vileplume, and this one was pretty obvious why I wanted this guy is because I actually tried it out in BBL in season 2 when I entered, and this thing was just stupid good. Like especially with like Strength Sap, this thing is stupid good with this move. Because the fact that you could just wall certain physical attackers and you can also set up on them with growth is just pretty dumb, and to a degree. Well, I won't say that word, but still. And you still have actions to recover like Giga Drain, Moonblast. I think from has Moonblast now, and even has like I believe Sludge Bomb. So you have powerful coverage options, and this is not even including the fact it has Chlorophyll. So. Hey, I noticed I had double witter, so But yeah, this thing could set up whenever the hell it wants, and it could. Or you could just like, run something like Toxic or or Stun Spore. So this thing is just a great status spreader, and it could just recover very well. Or I could just go with setup. And yeah, this thing is pretty nasty. I wish you could use this with the Leech Seed, but unfortunately these two are incompatible with each other. Imagine if it had these two coverage options, that'd be really dumb to face off against. So overall I just wanted to have another grounded. I wanted to have a grounded poison. I mean grass type, just being able to finish my water water grass core, something that makes my team semi-immune to T-spikes, even though I believe we're not that vulnerable to it. Like, I mean, well, I don't know. We could say that. So next up, we have Mudsdale, and honestly, for a 2-point Pokemon, I think it's a great value because honestly, Mudsdale is just a great tank. Having X Stealth Rocks, Earthquake, and Close Combat, Rock Slide. I was gonna say like Heavy Slam as well, and also no, I don't think it learns Stone Edge at all. So yeah, but yeah, but if you think about it, Stamina is a great ability, and it has fantastic bulk as is. So you can even run a rest of Mudsdale if you feel like it. So being able to set up and like just stick around for the long term. So yeah, this could maybe be something that I would consider, but we'll see. I think you can run low kick as well, so or even magnitude if you want to like play around with that. You have higher power point values, and you could just hit more damage. I don't know. That's just that's just me thinking. So, but chances are I'm just gonna be bringing Mudsdale whenever I feel like Seismitoad ain't gonna be good. So yeah, like Mudsdale is a great Pokemon overall. Good budget value. Definitely recommend it if you drafted in your league. So yeah. So last Pokemon we have is Licky Licky, and of course, whenever we talk about Licky Licky, it usually means we are talking about Wish. However, this thing also has some weird setup options like Swords Dance and Curse, so I don't think it's compatible with these two. So yeah. Of course, I think Wish means that you don't have access to egg moves, but it does have access to unique options like Earthquake, Knockoff, Heal Bell. So this thing is a good like cleric as is, and it has very good defenses on both ends. So you could be physically defensive or especially defensive on, or a mixed tank if you ask me. So yeah, and it even has a great ability that you can't get taunted. So you could Wish while not getting taunted at all. So that's a great option if you ask me. So Licky Licky was something that I felt was just good to have, especially if I'm facing it against something like an H slash or just something very bulky, and or I just want to heal stuff off like Magearna and Zapdos or Entei. So yeah, overall that's my team for the draft tour, and we'll see how far we'll go this time around. So that's all I have to say, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.